He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
And we're back.
It's another week.
And Angry Mortgage is on the air. That was a sort of an interesting week. A lot of stuff happened. We'll hit up the news. Of course, the Bank of Canada did make their announcement.
And we were right.
Nothing happened.
Our prediction was right.
You know, I did hedge my bet. I hedged my bet and I said, yeah, I think it's only 35% chance they'll increase. And, they did not. So, pause. And you know what? I'm not going to do all the bullshit talking about how to read between the lines of this pause. Like they said, they just didn't increase. Okay. Doesn't mean they've stopped increasing forever. Doesn't mean there's going to be a cut soon. Doesn't mean they aren't going to increase. It means nothing except there was no increase that day. Yeah. That's all. That's all it meant.
It could be a whole different story in 3 months.
Or 2 months. Who the next meeting is October. So we're going to find out.
It's that soon, eh?
Yeah, every 6 weeks, basically every 6 weeks on a Wednesday. There's a basic craziness about analyzing everything that Tiff Macklem says, or what Carolyn Rogers says, the deputy governor. Okay? There's a basic foolishness in studying every word they put out, studying every sentence of the reports they put out. It's meaningless because everybody's
trying to find the Easter egg.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're trying to find some secret meaning, or I think I know he meant this, or I think I know she meant that. Yeah, it's just words. Okay, events control what's going to happen. Okay, if inflation starts running really hot again, if it creeps up, goes over 4, then goes a little higher, they're going to raise the rate again. Okay, like it's just simple as that. So there's no point I believe, even though there's a whole industry full of it, there's like hundreds and hundreds of people just study the shit out of what they say and write bullshit about it a lot. Okay. No, we just have to watch. I know people love prediction, right? Everybody likes prediction.
Sure.
It's not, the thing about people is that we like to think we can see the future. Okay. All humans do. I know what's going to happen. Okay.
Try to control as much as we can.
Yeah, exactly. We want to predict the future to control our lives. Very basic human emotion. Goes back to when we were swinging from the trees. Okay. And yes, I believe in evolution. Okay. I believe in evolution. All right. Adam and Eve. No. It's a story. Okay. I'm an atheist. Okay. I'm like Ricky Gervais. I'm an aggressive atheist. Okay. So yeah. But people, as a human emotion, we like to think about what's going to happen in the future so we can protect ourselves or so that we can make the right decision. I respect all that. But yeah. It's hopeless. Okay. Sure, you can see the obvious. Inflation goes really high again. They're going to raise the goddamn rates. Yeah. Okay. Inflation. Yeah, exactly. And inflation just sinks beneath the waves. They're going to stop going up. When will they decrease the rate? When will there be a rate cut? Well, the right answer is fucked if I know. Okay, I have no idea.
Just enough blood has to be spilled.
It's going to be a while. Yeah. And here's the really important thing to understand, folks. Unless there is like another plague, okay? Unless there's another plague, unless there's another unmitigatedly and massive event, when they start to drop the rates, they go slow. Like they go 0.25% at a time, slow. Okay, sometimes there's months in between. All right, and unless again, barring plague, barring like super volcano in Yellowstone and blowing up half the world, barring unmanageably crazy events,
an act of God.
Or China invades Taiwan, or we've talked about
Yeah.
this shit before. Barring some unbelievable event, they will never come back to the super low rates in my lifetime.
Probably not my time either.
Maybe,
These
maybe.
rates that we saw, we harp on the 0.99 that we saw briefly. We are never going to see that again.
No.
And it's funny because people sit there and they're waiting, like, oh, I'm waiting for it to go back to 1 point something. I'm like, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Yeah, you're
This
good.
is the new world we live in. That's the old one. And I think we need to get used to it.
And as I said, I think last time, I think central banks have learned a lesson that these super low rates are dangerous and problematic.
Extremely dangerous.
Extremely dangerous. So that's the lesson from the Bank of Canada change. Don't obsess. Just wait for the events to unfold. But here is one thing that I did notice. Prior to the rate dropping, prior to the announcement, of no change, of the pause.
Pausing. Yeah.
Prior to the announcement of the pause, okay, there was some speculation, and there was speculation afterwards, briefly afterwards, that, when it paused last time in the late winter, very early spring, like last year, earlier this year. See, I think the pause came in March or something. Or
something like that. And that's when the
like that.
market picked up
I
slightly.
could look at that. There'll be 500 people add comments like, "Why don't you know? You should know exactly what happened." No, okay, fine. Okay, fine. So when the pause happened last time, there was a flurry in real estate activity.
There was.
Okay. But folks, let me correct any misunderstanding about that. That was not about the pause. That was about fixed rates going down into the 4s.
Yes.
Okay. That's what it was. It was fuck all about the pause, like nothing. Okay.
Well, and I think that's something we can't harp on enough. The Bank of Canada rate does not control the fixed rates whatsoever.
Yeah, it's an influence long term, but long term, basically what, as I've said again a million times, the whole concept of where the fixed rate comes from is bond traders trying to figure out when central banks will start to drop their rates.
Yeah.
But it's just a guess. It's a guess. That's all it is.
It's a very well-educated guess, but...
Or an expensive guess. You pay those fuckers a lot, okay? Not mad at you bond traders. Don't get mad at me, you cap markets guys. You're all great guys. You're in your pay, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So, by the way, for people who've never heard of Seinfeld, that last little yada, yada thing makes no sense at all, right? Like, you know Seinfeld, right?
Yes, I know Seinfeld.
But it's fair to say that people in their 20s may not know Seinfeld.
No, it's pop culture.
It is a bit pop culture-ish.
I think anything on Netflix people know.
No. Okay, they don't.
I think they know it.
They don't. They
If
may.
it's
they
on
think they know.
Netflix, we
It's on
know it.
Netflix.
Yeah.
It keeps coming
Is
back
it on
and back.
Netflix?
I don't think it's on Netflix. No, I think it's on one of the streaming services. But
Something.
I don't. Yeah, it's somewhere. But yeah, so it used to be you made a Seinfeld reference, and every human being in North America just nodded. Yep.
No
you're
soup
right.
for you.
Yeah. Just yes. No soup for you. It's Festivus. We're gonna have Festivus now.
Festivus for the rest of us.
I know. There's a bunch of 20-year-olds saying, "Have these guys lost their fucking minds?" Okay. I don't know how many 20-year-olds listen to this. Probably not many, but people in their 20s, I don't think many. But what are they talking about? These old fucking geezers. Now, you're definitely not old. I'm not saying you're old.
Getting
You're
there.
not.
My
No,
hips
you're
feel
not.
it.
No, you're not. You're fine. Okay, I am legitimately old. Anyway, yada yada. So at the end of the day, we got to understand that it is actual events. Like the rates dropped in February, March, April. Okay, they went down. Fixed rates, 3-year fixed. Best rate, I think the best we ever got on a 3-year fixed was like 4.59, which is totally different
Something like
than
that, yeah.
in the 6s today. It's totally different. Like, can everybody just take my word for it? Like 4.59 is way fucking different than 6.09. Like it's just really different.
Extremely. It's a few points different.
But it is just psychologically impactful. Okay,
Yeah.
like fuck me, it's too much. The payments are too high. And 4.19 because we were as low as 4.19 we reached for 5-year CMHC mortgages. This is the government insured mortgages, so that's all in the 5s today. Okay, high 5s, mid 5s, low, somewhere in the 5s. And it's just really fucking important. I mean, that's what pushed the real estate market in the spring. That's it. But that ain't happening now. Okay, it's all in the 6s still.
Yeah. So now we have a pause, but everything's still in the 6s.
Yeah,
which
everything.
makes the qualifying rate in the 8s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, yes. Okay.
Just makes everything substantially harder.
You want to get a $500,000 mortgage at qualified 8%. You better be making a shit ton of money. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So you're in the real estate business. Oh, I keep forgetting. We're supposed to tell everybody who we are.
Do people not know at this point?
No, I got to keep
Come
it.
on.
I'm Ron Butler, very fat mortgage guy, and this is Natalie Butler, realtor extraordinaire. Sorry, and we're still not giving any dates. Fuck all of you who want the dates. Not doing it.
It's
Okay.
after the pause. Figure
It's
it out.
It's after the Bank of Canada pause. Figure it out. Oh, but there's lots of them. No, buddy, we're not doing it. So anyway, the issue here is that real estate is slowing. I mean, let's face it. The summer is a naturally slow time.
Yeah.
August, almost
Especially
very-
the end of August.
especially the end of August.
It's like
very
I said
slow.
before, it's a kiss of death, the list before
Yeah.
Labor Day. You just don't do it.
It's just nobody. It's just tradition.
Mm-hmm.
So no, and it's probably well thought out because people are got a lot in their minds. People have got kids. They got to get those kids in school. There's lots going on.
Last minute vacation,
All
shutting
that
down the
stuff, yeah.
cottage,
All
shutting
that
down the
stuff, yeah.
trailer if you have it.
yeah,
Do
everything,
this,
yeah.
whatever, what have you.
Yeah.
It's an expensive month too. These kids aren't cheap.
Kids are not cheap, are they?
No, they're not.
cheap.
Between back to school and new hockey equipment, like I'm gonna have to get a third job. This guy wanted a $300 stick. I said, you don't play in the NHL.
So your son wanted a $300 hockey stick?
Fucking
Does the
stick.
hockey stick score by itself?
I hope
mean,
so.
Jesus Christ.
I better drive him to practice too. He better get on it and
You better
ride it to
be like one of
practice.
those brooms in the Harry Potter movies. You better just jump on it. It takes you to practice. Jump on your stick like
He
a
thinks
Harry
he's
Potter
an
broom.
NHL.
Holy shit, that's
He's like, but
expensive.
look at the flex. I'm like, I don't know what that is, and I don't care what it does.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, but now we're getting into September, and there is a fall real estate market.
Always has been, yeah.
Always has been, and it may not happen. It really may not happen.
The next week will tell.
Next week we'll tell. But let's talk there. So there is. It's fair to say there's a slowdown.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there's a slowdown.
You still have your hot markets that will always sell.
Sure. So, again, stuff we've talked about before, but it bears repeating. Like there's areas in every city, there's streets. It goes right down to streets. in
Oh, yeah,
some cases.
pockets.
Pockets, yeah. So
The
if
house
there's-
could still be on fire. It's going to sell.
Yeah, people just want that location.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they'll
Now,
pay whatever they have to do it.
I had a talk with some people this week, and one of the things we said was that, hey, it's Toronto, like Toronto proper, the old 416, which is, if everybody. But the one piece of good news is everybody listens to Drake, so everybody
Yeah.
knows what the 6 is.
Yeah,
okay?
we're all in the 6.
We're all in
Rolling through the 6.
Rolling through the 6. Okay, so everybody knows what the 6 is, the 416, which is the heart of Toronto. Like it's basically the downtown and core area of Toronto.
Yeah.
Which does stretch out into some residential districts until it doesn't anymore. That area, there's pockets where people have been dreaming about buying some houses in those pockets for like 10 years, right?
Well, it's the New York City effect.
Yeah.
You got to get something.
Yeah.
And if that's your lifestyle that you're choosing to live in the city, not do the drive, maybe you work down there, you have things going on, you're not doing the drive, or you can't, or you won't. You need to live in the city. That's what you're going to do. You're either going to pay the rent or buy something.
And that's, sort of segs into I'm going to talk more about this at the end of the podcast, but it sort of segs into the fact that I'm very lucky in that sometimes I get a chance to talk to investment professionals from other countries. So I think we talked before about the Vikings came to see me from the Norway thing. They run the sovereign wealth fund of Norway, and the Vikings came to see me. And
Kind of weird.
I would know that guy. I was the one guy. I was just ready for him to pull out a sword and kill me. I mean, like, it was a good guy's guy. Don't get me wrong. There was nothing going to go wrong. He was a good guy, but like he was the Vikingish guy you could ever imagine. I'm just waiting for Thor to smash his hammer. He even looked like Thor a little bit. Okay, but yeah, I'm very fortunate, very very fortunate to be able to talk occasionally to wealth professionals from other countries who study Canadian real estate and banks, mortgages, and because they invest in banks, and they invest in companies that are involved in real estate like Brookfield. And so I'm very lucky that occasionally I get to talk to those people. And it was interesting, like one of them said this week, one of them said to us at a meeting, and one of them said to me, well, in Ontario, isn't your most important industry real estate? I couldn't argue, right? It's hard to argue.
It used to be steel.
Well, it used to be cars. Okay. But he says, isn't your main industry selling houses, building condos, selling condos, doing mortgages? Isn't that the main industry here? And of course, he's sort of right. It's sad to say, but that's, selling houses to each other is a big part of the...
It's a driving force for, I'd say, the better part of the last 10 years at the very least.
100%. And his comment, but, they ask questions about where is the vulnerability? And I said, well, look, we're sitting in downtown Toronto, right at the heart of the city, right? We were literally at the heart of the city in a tower, office tower there. And I said, this is the head office for most of the companies in Canada.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the US where there's a bunch of head offices in New York, some head offices in Boston. There's a ton of head offices in LA and San Francisco. There's still, even though it's lost a bunch of head offices, there's still some head offices in Chicago. When I say head office, nationwide companies that operate from coast to coast.
Yeah, the States pretty much had the big 6 or 7 cities.
Yeah. But it's spread out. Like it's not spread out in Canada. Okay. Like the head offices are here. There's some of everything except energy, which is some in Calgary, and energy's taken a little bit of a beating.
And government.
And we've got a provincial capital here too. And the federal capital is in Ottawa, but the provincial, and what's in Vancouver? Like, there's, other than like a few studios, I mean, I'm not pretending there isn't a vibrant business community in Vancouver, because there is.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely. Or they couldn't support their house prices.
Right. Well, no, they could support your house prices with just people coming from other countries and buying houses. I mean, that's reality. But this is like the majority of the head offices. Like every bank head office is here, with the exception of there's head offices in Montreal, but they're essentially just for Quebec-based companies, for companies that specialize in Quebec. Okay, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's a fact. So for companies that are coast to coast, Toronto is the head office for almost all the banks, almost all the insurance companies of all types, whether it's life insurance, property casualty. Again, other than the Quebec specialists, it's the head office for all the big national law firms, accounting firms, consulting firms that service the other head offices. It's the head office for almost every branch. Like Microsoft has a branch head office here, has a Canadian head office here. Yeah. Like Google does. I mean, it's a long list. Okay, like there's so many head offices in Toronto, which means a whole bunch of people executives who need to support that. There's executives who are at those head offices. There's executives at the companies that support those head offices. And it's just a bunch of people who make above average incomes, and they want to live one place. Yeah. Okay. And that props up those prices. It's just as simple as that. They're more stable. It's easy to say. They're more stable. So the jeopardy is always at the edges, right? It's always at the places that are farther out. And that's what you're seeing in the real estate business.
Well, it got crazy for a while there. Like places like, I'm just going to go off, so you've got Hamilton. Yeah. And then you've got these other communities outside, kind of like Toronto. But Toronto people were migrating towards Hamilton, which was pushing
that's true.
Hamilton that's people migrating to these other small communities. Yep. We were seeing places, and I'm just going to throw like Dunnville, just flying. For insane prices.
By the way, for everybody outside of the sort of greater Toronto area, Dunnville, to be very precise, Dunnville is a small town in the middle of fucking nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And even that was like, that's where we're seeing significant slowdowns because, the desire to drive to Dunnville every day, because now people are getting called back to offices, life's returning. It's not that easy. That's where we're seeing the slowdowns. I truly don't think we'll ever see a significant slowdown in somewhere like Toronto, just for those very reasons.
In the 6, as Drake says, in the 6.
Need to live there. They're going to live there, and they'll pay whatever to do so because more than likely they have the salaries to do it.
Yeah. So the jeopardy becomes the smaller areas, smaller centers that grew in price exponentially.
And the quote unquote normal people. Like
normal people.
Not the top 1%.
Not the 2%.
The people that actually go and work and probably do very physical jobs, very useful jobs, very needed jobs. Those are the people that are suffering now.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The one thing that having a house far away from the 416. And, we're talking about an hour and a half's drive for some of these places.
Well, I
right?
have family out there, and like my brother took us an hour and 45 to get to his house.
Yeah, and you're not coming from the heart of Toronto. You're coming from the edge of
Mississauga,
which is the edge of Toronto, touches Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is what we have to understand is that the immense price growth in, for instance, the Fraser Valley of in BC. Like somebody paid $1.2 million for a house in Agassiz. Okay, and I know you don't know where Agassiz is, but it's the equivalent of Dunnville. Like it's really, really fucking far from, where the Canucks play hockey. Okay, really far. It's an hour and a half. Okay, so that's the jeopardy in house prices today is places that are very, very far, that during COVID and immediately post-COVID, the prices went through the goddamn roof.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, as you said, quite correctly, there's more people returning to work. I was told the other day that, and I can't verify it, but it's what I was told, is that at RBC, they're telling people we're going from 3 days a week to 4 days a week in the office. Now, not everybody. Again, not everybody. There's some companies that have decided that there's certain job functions that are absolutely going to stay at home forever.
Yeah.
So that they made that decision. They said, okay, the type of job it is, and again, it's where the work just comes at you, right? Like where you get up in the morning and you're sitting in your house in your bathrobe or your
pajamas
or
underwears, whatever.
No, I don't. It's an angry show, but it's a clean show. We're not going to talk about we without pants on. We're not talking about that. Okay, not going there. We knowingly stay away from pornography in this show. Okay, but there's people in various stages of unkempt, just jump out of bed, pour the coffee, and start working.
I know people that work from home. They're like, yeah, so I shower on Fridays.
To
prepare for the weekend.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Okay. But there are jobs that are permanently from home. And those jobs are when those people get up in the morning, roll out of bed, put the coffee on, flip the laptop open, and start looking. There's work waiting for them, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's there. You got to do something with that stuff. It doesn't stop every day. Flip the laptop open. Oh, and during the day, more work comes at them. And it's basically it's fair to say it's sort of clerical work. It's process work. Is that fair?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably that. Okay. So some companies have decided those people can stay at home. Accounting, like if you're running an accounting, if you're the accounting department at a company, why not be at home?
Yeah.
The work comes at you, right? Get the numbers to balance. That's it. Process the invoices, make the payments. I mean,
it's the jobs where you can tell if they're not being done.
Yeah, bingo.
It's
I love that.
very clear that the job isn't getting done.
I love that one. Okay, that is a beauty because
you can tell if someone works from home, if a certain amount of work isn't getting done, you're going to know, and you're going to know right away.
That's it. So that a boss can say like midday, you're not doing your work. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. I'm going to remember that it's a job where they can tell that you're not working immediately.
It is very clear.
Very clear, because deadlines are being missed immediately. Okay, very good. Yeah, that's a good one. So those jobs may stay at home, but all the other kinds of jobs are being pulled back to the office. Yeah. Project work, some of it's coming back. Any job that is sort of faces the consumers coming back because they want to be able to talk to,
because you have to face the consumer.
But more to the point, you also, even if you're facing the consumer sort of or digitally, okay. There's still got to be a lot of coaching, a lot of discussion. I mean, every situation is different, and it requires you to communicate with management all the time, okay? It's not just process. It's not just the work shows up. You do your part of the work, hit a send button, it goes to somebody else. Yeah. It's not like that. You have to talk about the situation. That's all coming back to the office. So, yes, there is no more people talking about moving to Timbuktu or Dunnville or Agassiz.
I've seen a lot of people moving back.
And there's people coming back. Yeah, there's people coming back. So, because the other thing too is, and I said this during COVID, I said some of the people moving way, way out of town to the very edges of the world, they're not going to like it.
No, what's your quality of life now that you have to do the drive? Like I know someone whose commute is an hour and 45 one way.
But even if
That is 3.5, right?
It's
Hours
bizarre. That's just crazy.
out of your day.
Nobody should do that.
Plus your work day.
Nobody should do that. But
How's your home life at that point?
Is it also true that sometimes you just don't end up not liking being in the country? That's going to be true.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah.
You either can live in this country or you can't.
Because let's face it, we had people who had spent all their, lived in the city, then moved into a condo tower in downtown, in the middle of the city.
And loved it.
And enjoy it. And then during COVID, they said, I hate it now because I just hated this COVID. I'm stuck in here.
No.
I'm going to move to Dunnville. I'm going to move to Agassiz. Oh, actually, no, past that. I'm going to go into the country outside of Agassiz, outside of Dunnville. I'm going to live on a rural road, okay? And after a year, I just fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Like, I hate being here.
Your first snowstorm, you're going to hate that 3-mile long driveway. I tell you that.
Or just like, I just hate it. Everything's too far and everything. I don't like
Well,
it.
it's the isolation too.
It's the isolation,
There's different types of people.
Absolutely.
Some people love it. Some people hate it.
So
It's
at the end
personal.
of the day, is it fair to say the danger, the jeopardy in the real estate will start on the outer reaches, or when
It
I say
already
jeopardy,
has.
I mean price is falling, and you're suggesting you're seeing it now.
It already has.
And the other big problem is the condos, the rental condos.
Mm.
The big problem, and it's well covered in social media these days. A lot of smart people talking about it in Canada, particularly Toronto, Vancouver, that there's people can't make the economics of the condo work. They bought a condo to rent. They got some of them bought several condos. Airbnb is suffering now. Airbnb isn't what it was. Which, by the way, fuck Airbnb. Like,
Yeah,
fuck them
we
all.
went over that.
Okay? Like, I hate Airbnb. It's an illegal hotel room, for the love of Christ. Okay? All right. But it's not going as well as it used to be.
Well, because with rates the way you are, and you can only raise rent a certain amount. Like renters are somewhat protected, especially in Ontario. Landlord and
Prior to
tenant board.
2018, yeah, that's right.
Correct. You can only raise rent a certain amount of time, but if your mortgage payment is now doubled because of your variable rate mortgage and the rent's no longer paying what you needed to pay to keep this place afloat, you're now going into your own pocket to sustain the place. So how does it make sense? It doesn't.
Yeah, you can't raise, if you've got a 1-year lease, you can't raise rents midterm. It's
No.
impossible. So you've got, and yet your mortgage is going up.
Yeah.
Or you hit a renewal. God forbid you hit a renewal, and nothing can save you. That's something, because obviously there's static payment variables where the payment didn't go up. You ended up not paying off your mortgage at all.
Yeah.
But someday the renewal comes,
Which it always does.
and you're in trouble.
No.
Okay. So we have experienced, and we continue to experience, a growing number of rental condominiums and even rental homes, townhomes, etc., suddenly coming onto the market in the last 3 weeks.
And that's why Airbnb is so oversaturated. Because if you do the math, if renting it per weekend or short-term stay technically pays more than having a
Of course it
long-term
does.
tenant,
Yeah.
then that's where people are going to pivot. But that's where Airbnb has suffered, because at one point, I do think it was a kind of cool concept for the properties like we discussed, vacation rentals and this and that.
I'm okay
Now-
with vacation rentals.
Now
yeah,
it's so oversaturated with the random condo in Toronto that even these people aren't making their money.
And we have to agree that there's just, too many of them.
Yeah.
And that means that there's not as many takers. And also, let's face it, I don't believe the economy's going great guns. I don't think it is. I think, there was a not bad jobs report last week, but not awful, but not great. And I don't think it's, and let's face it, the beauty of Airbnb in theory was that, okay, in certain times of year where it's, graduation, when it's Christmas party time, when it's when it's vacation time cycle over the summer, that people who travel a lot would use Airbnb, and there's sort of a cycle and a seasonality to some of it.
Well, and an Airbnb has more like personal amenities than what maybe a hotel has a pool, but what if you want a full kitchen?
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if there's any sort of slowdown in travel, or there's any tightening of belts, I mean, like, let's face it, people are not going to, if you're not traveling as much, if you're don't have the money to send your, 20-year-old extra money to say, hey, yeah, go enjoy your graduation, blow your brains out, stay in the Airbnb for the weekend. Like if all kinds of things coalesce to have less disposable income, then Airbnb suffers. And again, to your point, the mortgage just keeps going up. The mortgage payment just keeps going up. And eventually, great, really smart guy, Steve Saratsky just put it perfectly the other day, that if you own a home and you're living in that home and the mortgage goes up, you will move heaven and earth to make that work. You will find a way. You will reach out to family members to borrow money. You'll run up your credit cards. You'll take a second job. You'll take a third job. You'll do gig work. You'll take in a boarder, for Christ's sakes. Like you'll rent a room. Who knows? You will do everything under the sun to keep that house for you and your family. Make that mortgage payment if you live there. If you're just renting it,
you don't give a fuck.
Well, you give a fuck, but you're not going to lose money endlessly. You know, you're not going to, if you say, well, Airbnb slowed down, everything's slowed down, I'm losing $1,000 a month, I'm losing $1,200 a month, and maybe next month I'm going to lose 15. I better sell this fucker. Okay. Yeah. That happens because it's an investment anyway, right? Now you might have thought, well, I'm going to, real estate always goes up in the GTA, Southern Ontario, British Columbia, real estate always goes up. I'll just hold on. And then the moment when I say, fuck, I can't hold on anymore. Okay. I'm done. I'm fucked. Okay. I got to sell this place. And that's a much easier decision than selling the house your kids live in. Okay?
Well, yeah.
And you make that decision and you offer it. And that's why we've seen the expansion of listings suddenly for rental properties in Vancouver and in particularly in Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay. We've seen a burst of it.
Well, again, because another point that we've made before is these rental properties, if you're doing it above board the way you should be doing it, you're not paying 6%. You're paying more than that because now.
Oh, you could be, yeah. On a renewal, yeah.
It's even higher because rental rates are higher than owner-occupied rates.
They're slightly higher than primary residence rates.
Your insurance is higher than normal
insurance. Your insurance is higher. And like, I don't think condo fees are going down. Nope, they're not going down at all. And I think we haven't even seen the wave of property tax increases this is eventually going to hit. So
yeah,
you have to make a financial decision if you're losing money.
Yeah.
Okay. So will we see the growth in that kind of need to sell? Yeah, I think we will.
Definitely.
And that means there's the one thing that we noticed, you and I noticed in the spring market where their prices did a bit of a rebound in British Columbia and Ontario. They'd gone way down. They'd done quickly from the super high peak in 2021. Sorry, they were super high.
I wouldn't even say that prices went down that much. It was just there wasn't that it wasn't so ferocious. Like the need for the house.
Take my word for it. The Treb said prices went down. Okay, the board said prices went down.
Didn't
then they
plummet.
came, but then they
back.
Leveled. Then they went back.
No.
Then there was a surge in business in the spring of this year, and now not so much. But really, what's going to be impactful is in the spring of this year there wasn't a lot of listings.
No,
there was not a lot of people offering for sale. If that grows and the rates are high, if there's all of a sudden more inventory, more listings, and the rates are high, that's almost guaranteed that prices come down.
Well, yeah, it's supply and demand. That's what drives it.
With the pressure of high rates.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I think we are probably finally entering a stretch which, we said would happen because as soon as the rates went through the roof 15, 16 months ago, we said there will be people selling their houses and prices will come down.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen exactly the way we thought, but it may be starting now.
Well, it's like you said, it's not, people are going to keep their homes as long as they can.
Their primary residence, yeah.
They're going to do it.
But the rest of the stuff?
Because the alternative is not as bleak also. Sell your house, but then pay a ridiculous amount of rent.
But...
What do you, come on.
But you will sell your rental property.
100%. See you later.
You held on because you thought you'd make money and you're not making as much money. So you got natural desire not to lose money.
Weirdly paid off.
But you give up sooner or later. Sooner or later, you just give up. Say, I'm not going to lose $1,200 a month every goddamn month. It's getting worse. I'm not going to. It's got to end. So you sell it. Okay. All right. So one other little piece of news this week, which I thought was great. Harold the mortgage asshole. Okay.
Also aka Harold the jewelry asshole.
No, I don't know if he was an asshole at jewelry. Okay, but like he was absolutely Harold the mortgage closer. Harold the mortgage closer, who I refer to as Harold the mortgage asshole, had his mortgage license suspended this week.
And how rare is that?
Well, it's going to happen more often. Okay, that's a great question, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of background on that. So there was an old regulator and a new regulator. So we have a mortgage regulator today in Ontario known as FSRA, and the old regulator from about 4 years ago was Fisco. So Fisco was just terrible. They didn't pay attention to anything. They were a bunch of dumbasses. The leadership was a piece of shit. They were all bad people who let the Fortress development thing run wild, cost the people, investors in Ontario, like $450 million. Just did the stupidest things in the world. I met with the compliance boss, the market compliance boss, like 3 times. Told him 3 times over 3.5 years that he was going to get his ass handed to him for Fortress development, and he just made up some bullshit story every fucking time about how I was wrong and he was right, and then Fortress blew up, cost the public in Ontario $450 million, and that guy got his ass fired. Okay?
Yeah, where is he now?
Yeah, he's gone. He is so gone. Okay, just like everything else in the government, he got his pension, but he got his ass fired. Okay, and FSRA's come on the scene, and they have it's a lot to start a new regulator. Because they did start from zero. They let almost everyone go.
Yeah.
Wisely, they said this regulator of the mortgage brokers is doing a lousy job. We're here now, independent.
Yeah, you have to gut it at that point.
We got to gut it, and we got to do it our own way, and we got to build ourselves up. Okay, and that doesn't happen overnight. And this complaint is often mentioned. When I talked about in other social media, I talked about Harold the mortgage asshole getting his license suspended, and he's not getting it back. Okay, I'll just put that out there. I don't believe he's ever getting it back. There's going to be a tribunal. He's going to lose. He's appealed to a tribunal. He's going to lose. He's just done horrible things.
What was he doing exactly?
Sorry, what was he doing? Okay, well, he actually made. He was in the media. He was in the old media. He was in the mainstream media. He helps to fuck people out of their houses. Okay, so let's just run it down. So people are desperate. He only works with the utterly desperate people.
He's a last resort, an absolute last resort.
But he's also just breaks the rules. Okay, when you do a private mortgage, he's in the private mortgage business. So he's lending his own money, okay, to people in private mortgages. And when you do that, there's many rules you're supposed to follow. You're supposed to explain to the borrower that, look, we don't see any path to you getting out of this. We're just putting a Band-Aid on this problem. Okay, we don't see, if we give you this private mortgage, we don't think you can make the payments. Or if it's prepaid, because you can do that in the private mortgage business, you can take out a mortgage and it's paid in advance for a year. We don't think there's any way you can deal with this. You don't have enough income.
Yeah.
You do not have enough income to manage this. Now, if it is in fact a temporary problem, it's just a bridge. No. I just need the money to fix up the house and I'm going to sell it.
Yeah.
You're helping me. I know I have to leave. You get it in writing. Make sure it's
an
all
expensive Band-Aid, but
expensive Band-Aid. Well, but here he's the most expensive Band-Aid. He was charging credit card interest. He was charging 20% interest on a mortgage. Okay.
And are there regulations on what you can charge for interest?
I can talk about that for a second. So there's ultimately in this country, there's a usury law. It's criminal interest. That's a felony. Okay. And that's at 50, you go above 59.99, you can't go beyond that point, which is crazy. 60% interest. Jesus, that's ridiculous. There's also, little known, people don't know this, there's also unconscionable interest in the courts. The courts believe in things like mortgages. If you're over 35%, you're in the wrong.
Well, no shit.
And they will disallow a lot of those fees and costs. But at the end of the day, he was just doing evil doings. He was right in old mainstream media, featured big stories, big stories, investigative report. Evil construction guy runs into poor old widow who's not well. And her husband was obviously the person who was making, before he died, was helping her, helping the family make reasonable financial decisions. They had a free and clear house, but she needed some work done on it because she was finding mobility issues. She needed to convert the house and fix it up to deal with her mobility issues. Didn't have much money because her husband had died, and they were on pensions, but her pension wasn't enough to do the renovations she wanted to do. So evildoer contractor shows up and says, I'm going to do everything you want for a great price. Sign here. She says, well, where am I going to get the money? He says, oh, well, I have a great friend who's helpful to people who's going to get you the money. So then we have a person that's unsophisticated, elderly, unwell, not overly educated. And guess what? Harold, the mortgage asshole, by law, you have to have independent legal advice. Okay. But Harold, the mortgage asshole, suggests where to go for independent legal advice. Like, an evil contractor bastard says, yes, no,
so there's many evildoers in
many
this,
evildoers
in this
context, but no more evildoer worse than Harold. Okay. And then he gives her a bunch of money. The contractor does shit work, but then says, I'm going to need, never finishes and does shitty work. And then he says, I'm going to need a little bit more money to get you out of this. And they do another mortgage. I think they ended up with 3 mortgages. Harold ended up with 3 mortgages on that place.
Wow.
And, at the end of the day, there's no money left. Can't pay the payments. And then Harold just tries to seize her house. She ended up out of the house. She ended up losing her home. And by the way, that's one that made it was published stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the stories, though.
And as a mortgage professional, I know of another 10 about the crap he's up to. Okay. And it's always the same. Very unsophisticated, very desperate. He did a lot of advertising, tons of advertising in old mainstream media. Harold the mortgage closer, I'll give you the money in 48 hours. And he had this commercial that ran where the money was flying, like literally cash was flying down from the ceiling and stuff. Like, I will give you a mortgage in 48 hours.
Wow.
You need some money? I'll give you. So obviously that preys on desperate people.
I don't think 48 hours is enough time to complete all your fiduciary duties.
No,
Did I use the
it's
right
ridiculous.
word? Did
No,
I use the right word? Fiduciary?
Regulatory. Like, we are required
Yeah.
to do a lot of disclosure. We are required to make a lot of notes. We are required that if we think there's a situation where the customer can't pay, that eventually can't pay, they will run out of money to pay.
The advice.
Well, we'll put it in writing too. Yeah. Say, look, we don't believe, this is what you must do. This is required. We must tell the customer, we don't believe that you can make these payments. Okay. We're giving you enough extra cash so you can make the payments for a while, but this is a Band-Aid. It's not sustainable. And do you understand that in a year or in 6 months or in a certain period of time, you have to probably sell your house?
Yeah, you're moving.
You're moving. Like, I mean, do you understand that? Do you understand all the implications? Do you understand that there's no future to this? And if in fact the customer agrees to everything, they say, yes, I understand. I have this particular plan of doing some renovations, doing some upgrades, doing some refresh so I can get the best value out of my home. That I also have this, and this I have to pay anyway because the collection agencies are hounding me. In other words, the customer can lay out to you a rational understanding of where they're going and what the solution is and what the final outcome is.
Yeah.
And it's well understood by all parties.
And they, like you said, they have their own legal professional.
Yeah. Independent
on their
lawyer
side
reading
saying,
through it all. Yeah.
Yes, this is what's happening. Do you understand this?
Not somebody
Do you
who's
understand the implications of this?
not a evildoer lawyer who's also Harold
says, "Here's
the
a
mortgage
fucking pen."
asshole. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Harold the mortgage asshole lost his suspended. His license is suspended pending being lost, and that's great news. And here's the thing: a lot of people, there's 2 bad outcomes of this. That in the social media that I did about it, there was a bunch of really nasty, hateful, anti-Semitic stuff.
Ugh,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's so uncalled for, so false, because I can tell you lots of stories about 10th generation Irish Canadians, Irish Scottish Canadian mortgage brokers who fucked people into the ground.
It's 2023.
Okay?
Let's not let's not lean into the
Jesus
stereotypes,
Christ.
please.
Yeah, that's the only thing about social media is it's anonymous, so people say the most ridiculous shit in the
Keyboard
world.
warriors.
Keyboard warriors, but mostly evildoers too. Like there is no reason to say today or in Canada ever any kind of anti-Semitic bullshit. It's just ridiculous.
Just the people making those comments, just so you know, it is another reason it's 2023, if for some reason you can get tracked with that comment, that's going to cost you your fucking job.
Exactly.
Like, come on. We're in the cancel culture. Let's watch what we say here, guys.
Yeah, all you people doing hate speech. It's
disgusting.
Someday you're going to be found out. You're going to lose your job, and that you should lose your job. So, and the other thing I want to touch on is what you alluded to. It's a good, very astute comment. Is that
was he
why
Mr.
did it take so long?
Motherfucker?
Why did it take so long? Why did it take so long? He's been doing evil doing for years.
Yeah.
And I actually, by the way, under the old regulator, Fisco, he'd be doing it still. Nothing would have happened. Okay. I mean, I won't go through 100 other stories I've got, but I mean, they let things go forever.
It's ridiculous in both the mortgage industry and the real estate industry.
Yeah, real estate industry's got its own issues too.
It's
yeah.
lax.
Yeah.
There's some lax.
But the truth is, in real estate, you are your own regulator, right? I mean, at the end of the day, there's a government act in the background, but the actual regulator is independent. Is from the association, right?
Yeah.
OREA is the regulator, and OREA is realtors.
No, we have RICO.
RICO is, but RICO, okay.
Real Estate Council of Ontario.
But aren't they also realtors? But they have a government act to uphold,
yes.
right? Okay, but they're not. But these are actually FSRA, the regulator in the mortgage business, and they regulate a bunch of other stuff like local pensions, local insurance, all the car insurance in Ontario. They do a lot. All the credit unions. FSRA does a lot. They're a big operation. But on the mortgage side, people would often ask, like, why does this still take so long? Well, this is the reason. I'll tell you the reason, okay? Because in a democracy like Canada, you got to be very, very careful about taking away people's ability to earn a living. Like when you issued that license because everybody has to have a license to advertise mortgages in Ontario. And if you give that license out, that becomes the person's living. That's how they make their living. So taking away people's ability to make a living is something that needs to be thought about. Okay, like you can't just do it on a snap whim. Okay.
No.
Now you could argue that it takes too long or too slow or whatever, but like I said, the old regulator, you would still be doing it. Nothing would have happened. Okay, so hats off to a regulator who actually gets rid of this guy. Yeah. And that was one of the other things people complain about. Took too long. Folks, there's a process. They have to go through the process. They got him, okay?
Innocent until proven guilty.
All that stuff. And it's very important when you're taking away people's livelihood. So, but although this guy, Harold the Mortgage Asshole, definitely deserved having this thing. He can go back to jewelry. He can go back to the jewelry thing. Okay.
Well, there was another comment on your social media post just saying he's just going to run it through somebody else's name.
That's a worry. A worry that he has the money to lend and he could run it through somebody else. The good news is he can't advertise anymore because you can't advertise.
So the brand itself is dead.
The brand is dead.
So if we see George the mortgage closer using the same commercials, it's going to tip us off a little bit.
Probably. So and you know, the other, then you got to pay that person who's going to front for you. So it becomes
probably pay them substantially.
Well, yeah,
if they know what happened
because they're going to end up happening to you. They know what happened to you. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, I'm very happy that Harold the Mortgage Asshole got kicked out of the business. If you look at his name in the system in the licensing system today, it shows that he's pending, which means he's not authorized to do mortgages. He's no longer authorized
to trade. Yeah.
So if you're pending, it means you can't actually offer mortgages to the public. You can't transact in mortgage. So that's
and then clarify this for the people. He wasn't Mr. Motherfucker.
No, he wasn't.
Some people thought he was Mr. Motherfucker.
From a previous episode, people thought he was Mr. Motherfucker. There's a few motherfuckers in the mortgage industry, and he was, but he wasn't that particular evildoer that I referenced before. I saw comments
where people thought you had the inside scoop on what was happening.
No.
So just to clarify, people, this was not Mr. Motherfucker.
It is not.
This is a different motherfucker.
This is a different motherfucker. He goes under the specific name Harold the Mortgage Asshole now.
Yes.
Okay, he's out anyway. Thank goodness. But folks. No anti-Semitic bullshit. That's all wrong.
Yeah,
won't be tolerated. Look, I believe in free speech, but I don't believe in hate speech. No. So enough of that. No more. Which brings us to our favorite part of the program.
What the actual fuck is up with you racists?
You know, that is one of the things, but not the particular thing. I got a different one. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What the actual fuck?
And this goes back to my discussion of the fact I meet occasionally with people, sophisticated investment people from other countries. Mm-hmm. And this was a conversation that came up, and what shocked me was their reaction. Mm-hmm. These are people from the United States. They're sophisticated people, very smart people, very sophisticated people. They do analysis of billions of dollars worth of investments. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we got to talking about Canadian real estate always circles back to immigration. Okay. So I've talked about my deep and abiding and never going to end love of immigration and the fact we need a lot of new Canadians, and we should be so grateful we have a lot of people wanting to come to this country. And they are, in most cases, not all, but in most cases, they are the hardest working people that
They
come
work
to Canada.
their ass off to get here.
And they work their
And
ass
they're not
off
gonna
once
waste
they're,
it.
they work their ass off when they
Yeah.
come here. Always remember, the majority of people serving old, white, multi-generational Canadians are new Canadians. They're the people who are being the service providers, being the personal care workers, looking after old, ancient Canadians in nursing homes. And long-term care homes. They're the nurses who are helping you in the hospital. A lot of them are the doctors who are keeping you alive. Okay,
A lot of their children are the doctors
and
keeping
that
you
too.
alive.
Okay, but some of them are still the doctors
Yeah.
who are keeping you alive. I mean, it's a long, long list of people who are cutting your lawns because you're too old to cut your lawns. There are people. It's a long list. I talk about it endlessly. They are almost. They're people who are feeding you because I can.
No.
If I took you to the chicken processing plant in Brampton, they don't look like me there. Okay, I mean they're working their balls off. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the truth. We need immigration in this country, and they are big contributors, and they're doing a terrific job. What we can, we need them, and everybody's an immigrant. Everybody who came here is an immigrant.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, not the First Nations people." Well, the truth is, the First Nations ancestors walked across the Bering Land Bridge 23,000 years ago, so they just came earlier, much earlier. Okay. So the truth is we're all from immigrants. We all came here one way or another from somewhere else. And we should never be mad at the people who come here now.
No.
But what the actual fuck is the reaction I got out of these very smart people when I talked about the level of immigration we have right now.
Yes.
So I said, okay, they're from the United States. So I said, okay, let me ask you a question. We have about 1 million people coming in the last 2 years. About 1 million new Canadians come here this year,
Every
and they're probably going to next year is going to be 1 million. So how many people? I said, how many people would that be? I realize there's illegal immigration in the United States. Sure, there is, and who knows really what the number is, but it exists. But I said, if you had legal immigration, so we're 1 million a year. So that would be legal immigration for you of about 8.5 million, right?
Like if you comparing
Apples to apples, size of the
Yeah.
country. So if a country with 40 million
Yeah.
brings in 1 million, a country with 380 million brings in 8.5, or a
Okay.
little more. Well, Nat, the look on their faces,
That's a lot of fucking
it was like a
people.
holy shit look. Like it was just a pause and like the shocked look and they didn't say anything for
Yeah.
a beat or two. And one of them just looked at me and said, that would be impossible. That would be unmanageable. It's impossible. 8.5 million legal immigrants. That's just crazy. Okay. And yet,
We're in Canada going, oh, Canada, waiting in the fucking Service Ontario line.
but I'll tell you what it really broke through to me was this isn't like other places.
No.
This and even though and by the way, let me just finish off on this idea that if we could build the houses for these people, if we could keep the healthcare going for these people, if we could keep all the services going for these people, I'd be fine with 1.5 million coming every year. I'd be fine with it if we could accommodate, if we could do things right and be ready for people. I'm so fond of immigration. I can't tell you how much I love immigration.
When we're slapping people in the face with their own immigration papers because now they have to sleep on the fucking street.
Oh, Jesus.
Literally.
Yeah,
It's
we got
literally a
refugees
thing.
sleeping on the street. Okay, so
Come on.
but again, the shock and incredible, I don't even know how to describe it. The two of them were just they shrugged their shoulders and said, "Yeah, that's crazy." He said 8.5 million new people in the United States every year. That's crazy. It's insane.
Probably
okay?
fuck your economy up a little bit.
We would be destroyed. Okay. And the guy made a good point. He said, like, you realize it only come to 5 or 6 states, right? It all, which is what goes on here.
So 2 provinces?
Yeah, or 2 or 3 provinces probably. But they got, like, you know, he said, they'd only come to like 5 or 6 states. It would be insane. Okay. So what it really hit me with is that what the actual fuck moment to me is that we haven't thought this thing through very fucking well at all, okay? Like, we're hurting the immigrants who are coming here. Mm-hmm. We're hurting ourselves because we're not prepared. Because if like 2 million were going to Germany or 1.7 million were coming to France every year, they would all just say, you're out of your fucking mind. We can't do that, okay? No. We don't have the services. We don't have the facilities.
And that's why they don't.
And 8.5 million coming to the U.S. every year, multiple years in a row, they're looking like, no, they would overthrow the government and stop it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, guys, government, please listen. You have 2 choices. There has to be some temporary adjustment to the number of new Canadians coming in every year, or more importantly, change your ways so there's some goddamn services, housing, healthcare, so that it's rational, able to do it because guess what? Other countries in the world wouldn't do it. No. They just would not do it. They wouldn't say, no, we're not looking after these newcomers properly. We're just bringing them in and harming them, okay? Because they can't afford the home. They can't, their healthcare is getting crushed, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense. So this is not an anti-immigration screed. What this is what the actual fuck is wrong with our planning process.
Yes.
That other countries in the world, the citizens of other countries in the world, think we're nuts. Okay? We're nuts. That's my thoughts for today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Have a good day.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.